introduce my guest for today's important conversation. But in the meantime, let me run you by some of the stories that caught the attention of the papers in the course of the week and were featured prominently in the front pages. Let's start with today's edition of the Daily Graphic. It leads with the story about Sir John, and it's in relation with the move by the special prosecutor. It says Sir John's assets frozen. Office of Special Prosecutor moves to freeze those overseas, and that story has dominated discussions in the last couple of weeks. Also in the same front page, resolving deadlocks in Parliament, Dr. Okwete proposes casting votes for Speaker, and gladly we have a Member of Parliament in the studio and we're taking his view on this proposal, whether it is the way to avoid the tension that we've seen in Parliament in recent times. Today's edition of the Ghanaian Times, it leads with fetish priest 35 kills wife, daughter for God's court finds him guilty, imprisoned for life, and that has the picture of the Chief Justice, Justice Kwesi Ininiabua. Quite a good move there to deter people from engaging in this kind of barbaric acts. 800 children diagnosed with diabetes in 3 hospitals in 2021. That story is also in the front page of the Ghanaian Times today's edition. Quite a worrying development. Parliament to probe death of woman in ambulance, and that story is page 4 of the Ghanaian Times today's edition of the paper. Yesterday, Speaker Bagbin was in the news, and Justice Abdul visits Attorney General. Supreme Court ruling cardinal sin of judiciary, Bagbin observes, and that story also has been captured page 16 of the paper. In fact, he has been making his point clear regarding whether deputy speakers can vote while presiding, and this has not deviated from what he has been advocating for. Vice President tasks Bank of Ghana to increase gold reserve to protect country from currency fluctuation, and there have been calls for people to increase, countries to increase their gold reserves to strengthen their buffers and of course strengthen their cities, and also address issues of inflation, among others that have ravaged global economy in recent times. Let me read the last 2 papers with me here and we open the discussion. The Daily Graphic, commercial sugar factory to refine raw sugar, arrangement concluded for imports, and that's also in page 3 of the Daily Graphic paper. Flood control drain project stalled, 117 million spent on 12 kilometers, and that has the picture of the Deputy Auditor General in charge of Performance and Special Audit Department. The very last one here, MPP regional elections, 12 chairmen retain positions, new faces for Buni East, Eastern and Western North. The party is gearing up for national delegates conference, and we are waiting to see who will be leading the new patriotic party. Of course, the major opposition party, also the National Democratic Congress, is also preparing to elect executives from the regions, constituency to the national level as we head for the 2024 elections. So we'll be doing more on that part. In the meantime, let me I'll be introducing the guests for today's very important conversation. What has been in the news for the reason that we all know? We'll be discussing the issue and looking at what should be done to avert such occurrences. Also, the government has been in the news over the release of 25 million cedis for the National Cathedral project. The minority disagrees with the approach to releasing the funds. We'll be interrogating the matter right after this break. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. Our guest for today's conversation on my immediate left is the Honorable Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed. He is the Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Honorable, thank you so much for your time. You have something to say about the arrangement of the name?
No, that's correct. It's just that most often the Ibrahim is always omitted. Ibrahim is my surname, and I feel uncomfortable when my surname is omitted. So you've gotten it right.
Thank you so much. And it appears we're all wearing white. I don't know what's happening today. Just after him is the Honorable Nana Fredua Agyeman Ofori Atta. Yes, I'm giving you honorable.
Add my honorable
to him. He's the board chairman for the National Theatre, representing the New Patriotic Party in today's conversation. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time.
I don't accept the honorable for one simple reason. We like to post too much. It's not my post, so why should I take it?
I'm giving it to you.
The use of that title in the case of Parliament is normally for the floor of Parliament, so that it takes away animosity and shows the regard for the people in the constituency and the person. Same for local assemblies. So the rest of us can't be claiming it.
Well, that's another conversation we can have some other day. Well, the government release of 25 million cedi additional seed capital for the construction of the National Cathedral has stirred controversy. In a letter dated March 31, 2022, the Finance Minister, Ofori, directed the Controller and Accountant General to release the aforementioned amount to settle some outstanding claims. The minority in Parliament has, however, accused the Finance Ministry of allocating funds without Parliament approval. Addressing the media, the minority spokesperson on Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, yesterday said the payment has not been captured in the budget and therefore is a violation of the law. However, Deputy Finance Minister John Kumar refuted the claim and said the 25 million cedi was captured in 2019 budget, but the contractor raised the invoice in 2022, and that's how come the payment was effected. Mr. Ablakwa has since filed an urgent requesting the Finance Minister to appear before the House to provide details about government resources committed to the National Cathedral project so far. Let me start with you, Nana Ofori, on this one.
I thought it was the NDC that had an issue.
No, you did
the burden of proof is with them to explain themselves.
The minority has accused the government of expending.
The point being, Ghanaians always do things the other way around. when a trotro driver crosses my brother here, the passengers attack my brother for not allowing the trotro driver to cross.
The minority has accused.
You're probably one of the passengers.
Has accused the government of expending or allocating funds to the National Cathedral projects without following the due process, because according to them, Parliament is not aware of this allocation. And I was thinking that's a serious offense if it is true.
That's why you should ask them, because they should prove it. That's how things are done. The burden of proof is with the accuser.
So you can also counter their proof by telling us or pointing to us in the budget where the allocation.
You guys encourage that too much and we don't go forward. The challenge is that you accuse me, you prove it. You don't accuse me and expect, when you tell me I'm a thief, then I should say...
I have personally gone...
If you want me to start me, I
so the issue is,
if you're uncomfortable
if
with
they have raised the question, they must show us where it has happened.
He has agreed to...
Luckily for you, the Deputy Minister has come and stated clearly what they know and have acted on.
What did he state?
So on that basis, what else are we looking for?
Well, for example,
in your narrative, you referred to the Deputy Minister, didn't you? What did you say he did?
He said nothing, absolutely nothing.
Because I personally went into the 2018-2019 budget and did not find any allocation to the National Cathedral project. And that was what the Deputy Finance Minister said yesterday.
That's what he said?
Yes.
So then let's wait and see how it goes. Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm just like you. As far as I know, and that's what I also know coming here, which is that at some point in this National Cathedral matter, it has been stated clearly, at one of the budgetary hearings, presentations, that there was going to be seed money for the National Cathedral. And that was stated. Once it was stated, as far as I'm concerned, that's that. So anything else that they're raising, I don't see anything wrong with it being questioned. And as far as I'm concerned, let's find the truth about it. For me, this is not a big deal. It's very clear in my mind, and I believe as a matter of fact, that it was stated that as part of the project of the National Cathedral, the state and therefore government was going to give seed money. Yeah. Everything else was going to be raised by the trustees to help. And so if you follow what the trustees have been doing over the period, they've been talking to Ghanaians, traveling, all kinds of things, rallying the religious community. And so even the national imam has contributed. So personally, like I said, I don't know what the technicality is that bothers the minority. As far as I'm concerned, it's their place to ask.
He seems to simplify the whole issue. You agree with him?
Well, good morning. Good morning to my...
Why are you not greeting me? When I started, you were talking, so everybody knows you're here.
I want to greet you on air, and that's why I had to greet you. Interesting. He's a traditional leader, and I treat you with that reverence.
Are you sure?
Oh, yes.
I never feel it.
Sadly, traditional leader who engages in politics in clear violation.
I never feel it.
Even
you should start making
of this country. That's a fact. In the first place, why would you want to build a house of God on a pact of lies, fraud, deceit, and outright thievery? Why would you want to do that? Why would anybody want to do that?
When you say thievery, what do you mean?
I would explain that. This cathedral thing was never found in the MPP's manifesto in 2016. Never. There is nowhere in the MPP manifesto for which reason the people of this country gave them the mandate to build a cathedral. There is nowhere. After they won the elections, you have President Nana Addo telling the people of this country that he made a pledge with his God, his private personal pledge with his God, that should he win the elections, he was going to build a cathedral. How can suddenly someone's private personal pledge with his creator becomes a burden and a responsibility on everybody in the country? What have we done to you people? What is the crime of the people of this country against you? That your personal pledge with your God, that yes, I am going to do this. Perhaps he did it in prayer, silently. And personal pledge, I believe that the wife was unaware. Nobody was aware, because this was his personal pledge he made with his creator, that he was going to do that. And suddenly that personal pledge has become the responsibility on all of us. Against the opposition to it, nobody says that if the state decides that we want to build the house of God, that approval must be given by the people of this country. If the MPP had it in their manifesto in 2016 and won the elections, one could comfortably say, yes, this was a promise we made. The people of this country gave us the mandate. And in giving us the mandate, they knew that it was a promise we made to the people of this country. So that is one. It frowns upon good governance. It is an insult to democratic processes. And these are things institutions such as the Ghana Bar Association should be interested in. This outright fraud, outright nonsense. And I'm not going to mince words on this. Two, I listened to the Deputy Minister for Finance. Yonkuma is a personal friend. We're in Legon together. We agree virtually on everything at the General Assembly. I was flabbergasted listening to him. And I can understand why he was struggling to find ways to defend the indefensible. You remember, this same president told us that they were not going to build with the taxpayers' money. The government was going to support in providing the seed money. Support in providing the seed money. But the entire project was going to be executed by private individuals, religious organizations and others. And it's true. The chief imam even contributed towards the building of the mosques. Even though there were some Muslims who were unhappy. And I said, no, as Muslims and Christians, we can support at any point in time meaningful. It's just like when we had the Central Mosque at Abu Sulkan, you had Pastor Mensah who provided even paint for the purposes of painting the mosque so that it could be looking befitting. So clearly, the president told us that. And again, in the 2018 budget, No amount of money was stated as to what government was going to contribute towards that. And you remember even in the debate, what the Minister for Finance said in presenting the budget to the people of this country was that they were going to support in providing the seed money. Finito. That was what was in the 2018 budget. And I challenged him. Remember yesterday, when the Deputy Minister was interviewed on Joy, and they asked him, he said, oh, we stated in the budget. Joy, Ivan said they've gone through the budget. There's nowhere they stated.
We have also gone through the budget, and there's no allocation.
No allocation. And even when he made that statement, that Honorable Kujetu, in speaking on the same media, said, look, in the debate, go and check the hands that we debated and questioned why it was the responsibility of government to provide seed money for the purposes of it. You remember when they did, they said government was going to provide the land, and for which reason they demolished accommodation of high court judges who do not even have accommodation. They demolished the accommodation of high court judges for the purposes of this particular facility. That's 2. 3, I think that my good friend John Kuma needs to sit up and learn very quickly. You don't need Archimedes to rise from his tomb to tell you that once you have a budget line for anything and that particular process expires, you have a budget for 2018 that you are going to provide seed money for the purposes of building a cathedral. Once 2018 ends and 2019, if you want to do that, and it must be captured in the budget. You can't come and tell me. And his response, oh yes, once it was found we stated that in the 2018 budget, 2020 we can go ahead and expend money. What kind of incompetence is this? 2018 budget has nothing to do with 2022 budget. Absolutely nothing to do with it.
4 years.
As a matter of fact, 4 years. As a matter of fact, even in the processes, and that is why every parliament, when we even have a bill for a session of a parliament, and that parliament life expires, that bill becomes nullity unless you begin with all the processes to find that. So 2018 budget, even though there wasn't any allocation for cathedral, assuming there were to even be allocation for cathedral, and you couldn't do that, you can't say that because it was captured in 2018, therefore we can expend money based on what was captured in 2018. This is absolute ignorance. We don't do that. And in fact, SSS economic students will tell you that it simply doesn't even make sense for you to do this. 2, he also said something that was shocking to me. When Evans asked him that yes, the president stated, or the minister stated that they were going to support, and he said yes, the minister they were going to support depending on how much they generate, government was going to provide that, and it's okay. Assuming, he said the thing was going to cost the state 200 million. And
now 350
million.
The Secretariat says.
So if it is 300 million, 350 million, assuming the contribution government gets is 10 million, it means that government is going to provide the 340 million for this purpose. I mean, what is this?
It's a national project.
Which national project?
It comes with revenue generating aspects.
Which revenue generation? And in any case, I'll even
it's going to serve some tourism purposes.
I'll even come to that. And 2, the companies they expended those monies to are not Ghanaian companies, they're international companies. The constitution is very clear. You cannot engage in any transaction, any business with an international entity without the approval of parliament. It wasn't in the budget. You went ahead and released 25 million to that company. Mind you, if you read the letter that was written by the Minister for Finance to Controller and Accountant General, the letter suggests that there had been some releases before this, and nobody in this country knows. Read that letter. There had been some releases for the purposes of this cathedral before this 25 million.
For the sake of our audience, let me read a little of the letter. It says, the first paragraph, seed money for the construction of the National Cathedral. Please refer to the letter with the number there, dated 17th March 2022, from the Chief of Staff Office of the President and National Cathedral of Ghana's memo dated 28 March 2022 on the above subjects. Authority is hereby granted to you to release the sum of 25 million cedis as additional seed money to the National Cathedral Security.
Additional seed money. What it simply means is that there had been some releases for the same purpose. Who approved it? This country is not like selling Kili Willy on the street. This country belongs to all of us. So you have no right to dip your filthy hands into the coffers of this country to release money.
No, let's be mindful of our words.
Which words? No, which words?
You can simply say to dip your hands.
You guys are so cowed to submission.
No.
And the NDC, all manner of words were used. You and the NDC, they called President Muhammad thieves on this same program. Thief on the same program, please.
And you believe that's wrong?
Well, you never stop them. You people never stop them. You people never stop them. If this is not criminal, what is it? That you have the right, because you are in government, to dip your hands into our money. My taxes, your taxes. The comfort of those ministers are ensured by our taxes. Remove 25 million Ghana cedis. One, in blatant disregard to the Constitution. In blatant. Nothing of that sort is found in any budget statement. It was not approved by Parliament. And I listened to the deputy minister who also argued that the NDC cannot determine the priorities of this government. The NDC is not determining the priorities of this government. The priorities of this government and this country can only be determined by the people of this country. And as people representatives, we have a moral duty and a responsibility to hold government accountable. And that is why we are demanding answers. That is why we are demanding answers. He said, oh no, because government had a promised 200 million, the project was going we're going to spend 200 million in executing it. Now, I'm just getting this information, but the same secretariat, 350 million, government can decide at any point in time to remove money. You see, at a time when NABCO beneficiaries haven't been paid, at a time when national service persons, government is owing them, at a time when school feeding, the women who are cooking, most of whom are not members of NDC, are members of this government. They feed our kids 90 pesos a day. 90 pesos. When the people who are cooking demand that it should be increased, government says that no, they don't have money, they can't increase it. 90 pesos. As a matter of fact, some of them have stopped cooking for this case. Yet, government could do this, assuming the people of this country decide that take even $100–200 million for the purposes of building a cathedral. Who am I to question that? But you have no right to do what you are doing. And that is the point. That is the argument. So the response, and I listened to it and I said, oh, the deputy minister responded. He responded to nothing. In fact, he made the case even worse in his response. Governments have a duty. No government and nobody is above the laws of this country. And these are the things I expect the so-called doyens of democratic governances and processes to be speaking against. Yet, they are in a complete state of incommunicado.
I'll come back to you. Let me bring in Nana. Nana, you've heard from Mr. Ibrahim, his position on the matter.
He's a large, I believe.
No, not. I haven't been to I haven't been to
And really,
I think it's not a bad idea that you're not.
Well, what's wrong with me being a large? And what has that got to do?
Well,
make your points.
Language etiquette is crucial. And that's what you try to point to.
When TV is going on, no regard for language etiquette. When
I want to take from you. You've indicated, even before you come in with your submission, you've indicated that we should wait for the finance ministry to provide the technical details. For now, what they have provided is what you are also aware of. But really, in this crucial time, as the NDC or the minority has been indicating, we've been asked to tighten our belts because we are in a very difficult time. We've seen government cutting expenditure lines to rationalize expenditure to make up some fiscal space. We've seen NABCO, as he indicated, among others, not getting their allowances as a result of the situation that government has indicated that we are in. And of course, we are seeing part of that situation around the world happening as a result of the geopolitical factors. Is it the best time to allocate 25 million cedis to the National Cathedral project?
Okay, so like I said, when we want to discuss and debate issues, we must do it with all the decorum that's important. At this time, after 20 some odd years of leaving military dictatorship into a democracy, you start off with anxiousness and all of that. By this age in our republic, a certain kind of language shouldn't be entertained in trying to negotiate a way forward. I don't know if the Alhajis, if the honorables,
I don't like honorables.
I don't know if the honorables children are watching, but I don't think this would be a good lesson in how to use language on air. And so it's important that that's clarified.
The certain that I want to take moral lessons from a brother. He must know that he doesn't have the standard, the turpitude to tell me the language I use. When they call President Muhammad thief, President Nanado, the one you are eulogizing and praising, himself called President Muhammad thief. Where were you? Well, President Muhammad doesn't have blood running through.
You get the time to allow him.
Let's you can make your point, but don't even go.
He cannot prove that he says who called President Muhammad thief.
You want me to give you?
Let's stay within the subject of discussion.
No. When he was going on, the only time that you
in Parliament
is when he made that particular.
Let me tell you, in Parliament. I want to tell him if he doesn't know.
And so. It's important that we set standards. Whether he abides by them is another matter.
Well, you don't have the moral to set those standards.
The point is, I have never ever called you or anybody as an individual thieves. Never. You know that.
Your party did that.
I always challenge you on air about this character.
But no, your leadership did that.
You always do that.
Your leadership
did that. If for nothing else, when you and I meet, let's talk on a different level, so that we can together. Because why? When I sat here, so your party uses this kind of language.
Your party came to Parliament with placards, thieves.
And so for me,
between thief and people, what's the difference?
That for me, and I've been around here, thank God, for quite a while. In fact, longer than he has. And I don't hold a reputation for entertaining this kind of language without saying anything.
You said worse.
So I'm saying it clearly, that this type of language does not help Ghana in any way.
Well noted.
It's important that we're clear about that. Now, I've stated my point clearly, and I doubt that it's questionable. I said, as far as I know as much as you do, and it has been made public. The Deputy Minister responded to the question raised. First of all, I said the question is a fair question. In all the rantings of my brother, he ended up saying the same thing.
I didn't say the same thing.
He says that the question, the issue, the process.
We have already questioned.
And that is what you see when you keep doing this.
It comes across. I'll give you the chance to respond.
Yeah, because I listened to you. I didn't say a word. And you see, it portrays a certain insecurity in your position. If you don't keep quiet for me to finish. Because thousands and thousands of people are watching this program. So if not for me, show them respect and listen. You see, when you're on radio, a bit of drama helps the imagination of the listener. I'm on television.
You are spending a lot of time talking about
free advice. I know you won't take it, but I'm giving it. I know, I thought so. But I'll give it to you nonetheless. This is my field.
Your leadership needs it.
Now, here's the point. I have made the point that one, you, the minority, is raising the issue because otherwise there was no issue to discuss, according to you, the moderator. You, the minority, have raised the issue. It is for you to prove it to us that what you're saying or what you're questioning is true. And you've, from what I have...
To prove, what do you mean by that?
I asked, show us that you've searched and you didn't find.
And I'm saying
Are you opposition?
No, but I'm the moderator of this program. You're the moderator.
Good.
And before coming to discuss this issue, of course I'll read around to verify
and I don't think that
the claim that the minority will be making.
I don't think that the moderator has a problem with me stating my position.
No, not at all.
So let me.
But the moderator is also pointing to you that he has gone through the budget 2018-2019 and has not identified the line item.
When you first allowed me to speak, I didn't challenge that. In fact, I was trying to encourage you to show us. No? I didn't challenge it. So I'm trying to tell you that there's nothing new to say, even after the invectives of my brother. There's nothing new to say. It is a simple matter. The minority has raised concerns. I'm saying that's their job. They're supposed to do that if they believe something is untoward. Have they told us the basis for their saying so and the proof of that? That's what makes people think and listen. Then when you go through that process or move based on that process, then everybody's all ears. And I endorsed that too. I said, yeah, they said they're going to take action. I'm ready to. I endorse that too. I think it's fine. That's why we're in a democracy. We're not in the era that they used to support of military rule, where when they spoke, nobody spoke. We're in a democracy where people express their thoughts. Having said that, then you said that the deputy minister had come out with an answer, which you yourself found questionable because you had done research and couldn't find it. I'm saying, well, that's why the challenge is going to be important. So when they get there, he'll show where it is that he says it is that on that basis they've taken an action. I went further to state that, as far as I remember, the president had said that the state will have a stake through government in providing some amount of money, some seed.
I will not unduly put pressure on the public purse.
Yeah, well, that has nothing to do with the fact that they would provide seed money. So that one was stated. As to when it was going to be provided, I don't recall. And so that's why this process is good. There's nothing else to it. There's no need for him calling people in complaint. Now I'm worried about being his friend, because it means when I'm not there, he will say all kinds of things about, or he has been saying all kinds of things about, because he said Mr. Kuma is his friend. And Mr. Kuma is not here. And he's telling thousands of people all kinds of things about Mr. Kuma.
In the letter, the finance minister directed the release of the funds. It said additional seed capital, which indicates that monies have been released prior this 25 million cedis, right. And that also cannot be traced in the budget. And I was wondering,
well, like I mean, my answer is still the same. Let's hear what happens out of the process. When you don't have information, what do you do? Concoct some?
Isn't it surprising that public funds have been expended and we have to raise questions before we see where it is, even if we want to trace it?
First of all, is there proof that it's untraceable? Is there any proof beyond the kinds of speculation and conjecture that's gone on? Is there any proof that it's untraceable? Because we're not sure, it's why there's going to be a process. You see?
There is a framework for expending public revenue.
Yeah, and so let's check all of that. Let's check it. Let's check it. Because if the minister is making a statement, he must have his foot on a stone of one sort or the other. He must. I mean, just as I don't mistrust him, I cannot mistrust the deputy minister on a simple, straightforward matter of procedure. Let's go through that and come up with the truth.
And he raised the question that allocations have been made in a certain session or meeting of parliament. Mm-hmm. It crosses to another, and we raise something that has been allocated in 2018 to 2022 and say that allocation still stands because the contractor is yet to raise invoice. I mean, in your personal capacity, you think...
you see, that's technical truth, fact, that these are some procedures. And then we need to find out, knowing that the guardians of that process at this moment know that, then they must also know something. If they're doing a disbursement at this time, they must also know something else. So until we find out exactly what it is, the benefit of the doubt must be given to them, and the probe goes on. As far as I'm concerned, this is much ado about nothing until the end of the process. You understand? It's good that the minority has questions and is raising them. It's good that they're making demands on the system so that the process will go through. When it's over, we pass judgment. But for now, calling names, it's saying also, why? The 20 million that was spent on buying, was it kinky or onions to go to play football? Where was that accounted for?
Which 20 million?
Where was that accounted for? Was it 20 million or 20,000? You remember? That football scandal under the NDC government.
2014?
Yes, the Brazil trip. You remember all of that? When they took cash in a plane. I mean, you see, that's why I keep saying it's not worth going into that style. I've been at this for the last 20 some odd years, and if I know that it hasn't helped us, I'm not going to be a part of it. this back and forth and throwing at each other, and then the real substance is not dealt with. The real substance is that we want the truth. Why? If the minister has done something wrong, I may not hurriedly come back on your station and condemn him, but it doesn't mean that I would approve that because he's done it wrong and he's on my party, therefore is right. I won't do that, and not me, I'm afraid. I won't do it.
Sure.
And so, for me, and I'm praying that Ghanaians will begin to recognize these types of things, and that's what's going to shake us. It's not this style. It's not helping us. We've been at it for years. It's not helping us. If you study the history of this country, this type of thing has not helped. Let's look for the truth and work with it.
Do you have an idea how much government, Honorable Muta, I'll come to you. Do you have an idea how much government wants to expend in this project? No. $350 million according to the Secretariat?
That's the cost of putting up this cathedral. It's not the amount of money the government
Yes, the entire project I'm referring to.
Yeah, that's the cost of the
coming from point that we've heard from for example, the president saying the state will commit resources but will not put pressure on the public purse, indicating that we expect more from the public, the generous public, to support the project.
Good. So let me answer it this way. Because through the choice of words, he still came across on some particular points. One, it is not for nothing that the chief imam would support the project. And so when you call names to the decision to do the project, by inference, you are questioning his decision.
Are you kidding me?
That's one.
Are you kidding me?
The issue is this, that facility, like how they did with Jubilee House. When President Kufuor was going, I didn't see a suitcase full of bricks and mortar and paint and iron rods packed, loading up the building to take away. And yet that's the impression they gave Ghanaians. You see, when you are institutionalizing things, making things real for people, this is not the approach to take. He referred to the National Mosque. The reason I wasn't quick about it is because it's a national mosque. It is national. It is for all of us. I'm not a Muslim. It doesn't mean that I don't belong there. Why? If I got there and an imam is there and I asked him for a prayer, you think he won't pray for me because I'm not? It's a national facility. It's the same way this national cathedral is national. And
only that the financing is different.
Yeah,
this was funded by the tax.
And that's what you're proud of. I don't understand that. You're proud that somebody from outside Ghana funded that, but the one that we're encouraging Ghanaians to join in funding, we have a problem with. You see, and yet when we go to places like England and other places, we're excited about what they do. Come on, let's change our psychology a little. This facility, when it is built, will do more things than just offer that primary thing of a prayer center. It will do more than that. And in spite of the fact that we tend not to think of religion as a money maker, the fact is that it will be a money maker. It will be a job provider. It will be an icon for Ghana. And most importantly, when Nana Akufo-Addo is going home in 2025, he will not fold the building up and put it in a suitcase like I narrated earlier. It won't happen. It is a Ghanaian, it is a property for Ghana, owned by Ghanaians. If you and I didn't come and meet Job 600, where Parliament is now, this is the attitude we take to its construction. And yet today, look at it. When Mr. Rawlings put up International Conference Center, the people beef about it. It's a national facility. It's dead and gone. I don't see it next to his coffin. Let's stop this and deal with the realities. Let's deal with what is.
In dealing with the realities, you appreciate the fact that you also have to look at the issue of timing and opportunity costs, right?
There's never a time. Fact. Why? When Nana Akufo-Addo announced in 2008 that we're going to have free education, what did people say from his side? There's never a time. Oh, it's not going to work. 20 years from now.
We never said that.
All of that was said. There's never a time. So that's when leadership, he talks about, is about the people. Yes. It's about the people for the people. Sometimes the people, I don't know if you have children at home, but you take a decision that doesn't favor them immediately, but it is for the long term. So you tell a child, go to bed at 7. The child wants to watch cartoons till 12 midnight. But you say, no, go to bed at 7. It is for a purpose. So you can't always expect that a leadership decision is necessarily intended for short term and is about today. You want leadership decisions that will be there in perpetuity in terms of a positive effect.
I'll come back to you now.
Well, first and foremost, in his response, he even questioned and even said that if I have kids, they will be disappointed. My kids will be happy. The values I teach my kids is that they shouldn't lie. They shouldn't engage in thievery. They shouldn't engage in deceit. If that is the values you don't teach your kids, I take my kids to those values. So if they watch their father on TV, espousing and taking strong positions against those who lie, who deceive, who engage in thievery, they'll be very, very proud of that. And if you are not teaching your kids those values, I urge you to do so. The other issue he raised, which for me is shocking, is that when I made reference to Mensa Otabil assisting to paint the Central Mosque, this was a private individual who decided to assist another, private entity. We are talking about the taxpayers' money. And he says that, okay, yes, we have raised the issue. Let's get to the finality. There is nothing to raise. In the first place, the Constitution is very clear. The Constitution says that for you to engage in any international transaction or any business with any international entity, it must pass through Parliament. The question is that, have you done that? No. The other thing is that the Deputy Minister said that it was captured in the 2018 financial statement. They asked the Deputy Minister whether the amount, he said yes. When they made references, there was no amount of money stated as to what was going to constitute the seed money. So was the Deputy Minister telling the people of this country the truth? He was lying to us, to put it mildly. And why would someone whose comfort is ensured by our taxes will lie to us in a manner he did? 2, the Deputy Minister also argued that because it was captured in the 2018 financial statement, even though no amount of money was captured anyway, and by extension, 2022, you can execute that. The question is that the practice? Is that what is supported by the laws of this country? We don't live in a banana republic. This country is governed by rules, regulations, conducting and regulating the conduct of everybody, including the president. So when we engage in outright side conduct, what is chrono and thievery? What is that in tree? Is it not thievery? President Nanado said that President Muhammad was engaged on chrono. That one, you didn't see anything wrong with that. This statement I have made here is not coming from President Muhammad, it's coming from me. In Parliament, you had placards, thieves. President Nanado called Prof. Mills, Professor Doolittle, mocked him. On the day President Mills died, that day, one of your current ministers was on Metro TV. And please, I will, because what he attempted doing was to appeal to the emotions of people, so that we can run away from the facts. Unknown to that communicator, that Prof. Mills had died. The commentator was on TV mocking him, mocking Prof. Mills. So please, you wouldn't. I want to take more lessons from Abdul, and I want to emphasize on this. I'm saying that you have engaged in absolute violation. The monies we are talking about here is our money, it's our taxes. You have imposed an unjustifiable taxes on us in the name of e-levy, unjustifiably. Everybody kicked against it. Every aspect kicked against it. You impose it. Ghanaians are paying it with that profound discomfort. Now you take that money and you do what you want to do as if governance is a private business. That is why the Constitution is very clear. When financial statements are approved, you cannot even expend money until appropriation is approved. Now, if you have a government that thinks that they can spend money any day, any time, then we must as well throw this democracy somewhere. That is not what we are fighting for. And if it means me being looked at someone who wouldn't mind my words because I want to defend the democratic processes, for which reason you think that we were able to say the things we were saying under military dictatorship, that is why we are in a democracy. So we are asking these questions. So there isn't any investigation. The host himself is telling you, I have gone through the financial statement. I have gone through. There was no mention of any amount of money for the purposes of seed capital to this. What other investigation? Now when we raise it, you want to appeal to the motions, all in attempt to prevent me from expressing those opinions for the avoidance of doubt. My position and the opinion reflects the position and opinion of millions of people out there. Millions of people who even gave you the mandate. They are all disappointed about the kind of rulership we have in this country. Look, the reason why this has become a very huge issue. You have NAPCO beneficiaries who haven't been paid for months. You have national service persons, some of whom don't even have money to enter trotro from their home to the places of their services. And mind you, if you miss this validation, you won't be validated. They have not been paid their allowances. You have members of parliament. Our common fund haven't been released. Government still owes us last year quotas. District Assembly common funds, they haven't been released. Last year District Assembly common fund, third and fourth quarter haven't been released. Nothing is happening, yet government can decide to engage in such illegality. Tell me what is legal about what they have done. So the position we have taken reflects the position of many people. If it means we reflecting it in a forceful manner, we will do so.
You're requesting the minister to appear before the House. What sort of answers are you seeking to get from the minister when he answers?
The authority with which he did what he did. If you can read the statement, the letter he wrote, he said something. By the authority, read it. I don't want to quote him wrongly. Just read the letter he wrote to the Controller and Accountant General.
He said authority is hereby granted to...
Which authority? Who gave him that authority?
The power we have given him as a people.
The power says what? That before you do so, you should have parliamentary approval. So that power is now within the control of Mr. Ofori, that he can decide to release 25 million at any point in time. Is that what he's telling us? When you go NHIE, some of the facilities that are accredited with NHIE are no longer giving medicines to people because the service providers, government owes them. People can lose their lives as a result of that. You think that that is not a moral issue? You think that we should be quiet? When people have treated you so much with kid gloves, that is why you engage in the...
In all fairness, he has admitted that your questions are genuine and the minister will appear to provide. He hasn't debunked the relevance of your question.
No, but he knows too well what the Constitution says about engaging in international transactions. He knows too well. It is very clear to him now that the thing was not found in the 2022 budget. He knew the issues we were going to look at. The questions were sent to us yesterday. He's a communicator.
Not me. So don't misinform the public.
Hold on.
Don't misinform the public about that. Not me.
As far as I'm concerned, I got it last
night. But I did.
Now hold on.
Yeah. So if you got it,
assuming it wasn't even sent to you.
Good.
This, what we are looking at is what? Weekly press review, isn't it?
It doesn't mean that.
I say, hold on, please. It is still not a justification.
It is.
Weekly press review. Tell me what is so serious currently being discussed in this country than the issue of this money. Tell me. That you are communicating for government, then you are unaware. The Minister for Finance, the Deputy Minister for Finance, he requested to respond to these issues after the press conference was held by the minority on Joy FM. Yet when they asked him whether there was a budget line for this, he said yes. He said it was in the 2018. Only for the journalists, as you did today, to tell him that there is nothing, no amount of money stated. And then he then said, oh, and mind you, he didn't just say captured in 2018, he said it's captured in 2018 and therefore by extension 2022 we can release those money, which is even in clear violation of the practices and the Constitution, the Financial Regulations Act, even procurement. The law is very clear. When you engage in aspects of procurement that doesn't, succumb to the procurement processes and for the purposes of executing contract, it's criminal. It's criminal. So if the minister deliberately tell the people of this country that it was captured, assuming the journalists asked him, many people who listened to him would have concluded that what we were engaged in was, if I can use his word, much ado about nothing. Yet when he questioned, and then
you're allowed to use my words.
Yeah.
You're allowed to use. They're very decent.
Do you have patent right?
You asked me, say, if you're allowed to use, and I said you are because they're decent words.
It's a pretentious usage. You are even
nonetheless.
Yes, it's a
there's another word for pretentious.
Oh, I say it's
offered to us by your revered.
Thank you, but I'm just saying that.
Flight Lieutenant
I'm just saying.
But it's usable.
What has Rawlings done about this?
I said he introduced the words.
What has Rawlings done about this? So I'm saying that these questions are questions. Is it true that this was not in the financial statement for this year? 2, Now, how? And I asked the question, and he's not answering to that question. This attempt to moralize the discussion and said that when the chief imam did that, by extension, if I say the chief imam himself contributed towards it, and who tells you that you can't criticize anything the chief imam does? You can. And in any case, what has chief imam contribution to this got to do with the illegality and criminal acts this government is engaging? Was the chief imam aware that you followed the right processes in executing this? No. So if I make a contribution, look, when I was the MP for Nantong, there were a lot of churches. If you go to a place called, what's the name?
You're justifying your inclusion.
I'm just telling you, we did that. But I will criticize
you
this.
Have to do that.
Even if this thing was done, even if this was, you see, this attempt of trying to sway, so to look at it as a religious thing, bringing in the chief imam because I'm a Muslim, please, this hypocrisy, these are values you shouldn't even let your children listen to. Now, the point, yes.
Now you're copying me.
No, I'm just telling you. I'm advising you. Why? I'm advising you. I'm just telling you that the fact that chief imam contributed or contributed, when you told people.
What did you say about brothels and advice?
You see,
you
see, the viewing public will now know.
You said you
don't want me to do. And me, but I'm not even doing the way he did.
The viewing public will now know that the sermon he sought.
No, the brothel that you referred to. I'm asking.
The sermon he sought to preach he was just pretending. I am saying that
the brothel that
whatever anybody did towards this, nobody has any problem with it. I can decide to go and contribute towards that because they are going to build the house of God. But why would you want to engage in building the house of God with lies, with deceit? Why would you want to do that? Now, why would someone, solemn pledged, he said that he had a pledge with his creator, that should he be given the mandate to rule this country, he's going to build a cathedral. He himself, he didn't say it was the MPP pledge. He didn't even say it was the campaign team pledge that they were going to do that. It was nowhere found in their manifesto for which reason the people of this country gave them the mandate. He said his personal promise he made to God. Why would suddenly someone's personal promise becomes a responsibility of the state? Now, even if you want to convince us to go along with you, do it within the ambit of law.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Have you contributed to the cathedral?
No.
Why?
What must I contribute?
It's just a question.
Have you contributed?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't.
Then do. Do.
Have you contributed in paying the allowances of some of the NACO beneficiaries?
About the cathedral,
I'm talking, of course. Are they all nonsense?
Do you know about the word?
What number?
You know Nonfa.
I have told you the reasons why we are raising
some. Are you saying the payment of allowances?
NACO beneficiaries. You heard me.
Nonfa means.
Yes.
Yeah, we're talking about
NAPCO beneficiaries. NAPCO beneficiaries, you heard him.
That's the NOFA.
You are now mocking.
Specifically
you are now mocking.
About the national
you are now mocking the young men.
Donation to it.
You are now.
Then
what has the donation got? What has
it has been part of the minorities' arguments that
who in making a contribution to church says that.
But that's
exactly.
How is it?
So the non-fi is that I was asking him about his contributions to the category.
Must I
then he
contribute
talked about them. I didn't say you must.
We are talking about our taxes. You are talking about money. Do you even listen to yourself?
When you finished, I didn't challenge that.
I said, do you listen to yourself?
I asked you, did you make a contribution?
And I asked you, must I necessarily make a contribution?
You must not, but you can.
So you can and you must.
Thank you so much, the gentlemen, on this subject. Parliament,
you notice that
the minority in Parliament has filed for a long time requesting the Finance Minister to appear to answer questions regarding the allocation of the 25 million cedis to the National Cathedral project. So let's move on to our next subject. The War Circuit Court on Thursday granted bail to 3 suspects arrested in connection with the flogging of 2 persons whose leaked sex video went viral on social media. In fact, it sent social media buzzing some few days ago. The arrest followed an attack on the Upper West Regional Police Command by hundreds of irate youth demanding the release of persons arrested for their alleged involvement in the public flogging. The 3 suspects, including 2 sub-chiefs of the Wala Traditional Council, allegedly sanctioned the public flogging of the 2. The punishment has been condemned by human rights activists, with some calling for the prosecution of persons involved in the process. Let me start with Nana.
But I started the first one. You did.
Nana, this
now
has...
he's telling things. He said he started the first one.
He refused to start.
But he started.
Oh,
he started.
He just made some comments on it.
Careful, you're the one who said something about brothels and truth.
I realize the brothels
let me pick your thoughts.
I know you, don't forget that.
Let me pick your thoughts on all that has happened in Wa. The fact that two people got involved in an act. The video was leaked, and that led to the traditional authority sanctioning that public punishment, which appears to be illegal in line with our laws.
Okay, so it's a very sensitive situation from my perspective, for the very reason that my brother raised, which is true. Yes, I'm involved with that aspect of our life, which is that.
And you are chief.
This one is not political.
You do politics.
So let me speak without your interjection. I can speak.
You can. I'm saying that you are a chief.
You said I can. So why are you speaking?
No, I just want the public to know.
No, but the interjection is become for the purpose of.
He doesn't understand that. I gave him advice. He called it brothel advice.
You are so hurt about this.
No, I enjoyed it. No, I intend to use it a lot. So I find it very sensitive. The minute it was mentioned that the Wana or his office has laid claim to the sanctioning of the punishment, let's be truthful with ourselves about what law is. I won't go to 1844, but for those who would be interested, they'll find out exactly what 1844 did to us as a people, especially to do with our laws and customs. And we shouldn't think that law is English and custom is not. Law and custom is also embedded in who we are already before the colonizers came. So that's not the point. Is that we should know who we are with regard to law and custom. And if you do a reference to 1844, the bond of 1844, you'll understand where I'm coming from. Having said that, therefore, I can see a situation where the traditional authority in an area will take action on what it finds immoral and improper and unbefitting. I can see that. Modern law has now sort of put its hand into our ways. And so now we're saying that it was illegal, that action taken was illegal. I think we need, first of all, to remove the Wana from it, because we'll end up disrespecting him and therefore the people of Wa. So we should be very sensitive to that, and I don't think it will be proper. So let's leave him out of a proper discussion on who we want to be and understand how to balance it. When we're clear about that, if it is the laws and customs of our people, whether they are in Wa or in Chibi, once we've understood ourselves, everybody will understand themselves. But in the time that we haven't taken time out to do that, every area, they'll do what they know. That is why certain things like, you know, the thing they do to women,
FGM.
The SGM, you see what I'm saying? All those things, because we haven't taken time out to deal with modernist law and what we have. We have to take time out. That's how I see it. And I'm not ready to pass judgment on the Wana's office. I can't. For me, it would be disrespectful by anybody. That one I will judge people and say, if you judge them, you are being disrespectful. At the same time, I also recognize that human rights laws and everything else in modern law also has a play in it, and so we must respect it. So I won't pass judgment of them, but I think that we must bring clarity to it so that people appreciate their roles in our new society. I wish the Wana well. I can understand and appreciate the depth of his desire and the desire of his leadership to want law and order in his community, as it has always been from time immemorial. I can also appreciate the new laws and the fact that, yes, how do you just get up and flog somebody in the manner that we do in today's Ghana? So it's a tough one.
I'm bringing Honorable, your
I think
initial thoughts.
The facts be told. At the very time the gentleman and the lady were flogged, it is very clear that the one now was not even around. So I think that the context, and I agree with Nana, I think that for the first time I seem to...
It's not the first time. You normally agree with me.
No, I say on this program.
But on this program, you agreed with me. You just didn't like it.
No.
You didn't like the fact that I had spoken your thoughts in a more decent way.
You didn't. You were pretending. It is also important that for us to understand one thing, the laws we have here, anybody who did law, when you want to look at the history of our laws in this country, we have what we call the common law and our customary law. The common law is a law that we inherited from the so-called colonizers. The common law was created out of the customary law of the people in the United Kingdom. That is their customs, the way they live their lives. And in coming out to create our own laws after independence, there was imbibing the common law of the British and our customary laws. Our laws, some aspects of our laws, in fact largely, are accepted by the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. So if you take the Constitution, you see a conglomeration of both the British common law and the Ghanaian what? Customary law. That forms the core of our law as a state. So people who think that traditional authorities or some aspects of our law should be thrown somewhere, I think that they need to do some rethinking. It is also important for us to understand that what the gentleman and the lady engage in is a crime. And the laws that have been passed by this parliament, I think the last parliament, is that when you do that, you are given a minimum sentence of 15 years. Now, listening to the story, that video was leaked by the lady. If it is true, because that's the
allegedly.
That's what
by the lady.
Yes.
Did you see the number of people who were filming?
Yes.
Did you see?
Yes.
Did you see?
Not the sex
No, I mean
video, the sex video.
Okay.
I listened to a reporter of who said that that is the story, allegedly, but I just want to make my analysis based on what we got. If that is the case, now, and that the lady released the sex video because the gentleman refused to pay some money. So that is extortionist, attempt to get money or blackmail to get money. So there is some aspects of an illegality perpetrated by the gentleman and the lady here.
Okay, no, just before you continue, I'll give you ample time to discuss. We've been joined on the line by Belinda Asamanyua, who is a campaign and communication coordinator for Amnesty International. They've waded into this conversation, demanding that the right of the people have been abused and it should be remedied. Thank you so much, Belinda, for your time this morning.
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much.
Well, we've heard from human rights activists calling for the prosecution of persons involved in the flogging of the two people that were seen in the sex tape. And I want to pick your thoughts on that and quickly appreciate also the stance of Amnesty International. Are you supporting the call for the prosecution?
Yes, thank you very much, and a good morning to your viewers. Concierge, with the issue of the flogging of two lovers, Amnesty International has already issued a press release. And yes, we are calling for the prosecution of those who approved and participated in the cruel flogging of the two lovers. We in Ghana, there is one thing that Amnesty International wants to make very clear to citizens, and in fact to everyone in Ghana. What I want to mention that Amnesty International does not support or condone the wrongful behavior of the lovers sharing their videos online and all that. No, we are not condoning that. But what we are saying is that if there have been a wrong in the community, people should not take the law into their own hands. That is what Amnesty International is standing on. Because we are expecting that when the community members realize that these two lovers had committed a crime or had committed some kind of an abomination, which is said in the northern part of Ghana, they should have taken appropriate steps and visited the police and reported the issue to the police. That is where the police will come in and ensure that the two lovers, or for whatever crime they have committed, they deal with them according to the law. And not the citizens in the community bypassing all these constitutional laws provided in Ghana and taking the law into their own hands. They have infringed on the rights of the two lovers. How? According to Amnesty International, according to Ghana's Constitution, Chapter 5 clearly states that no human being in Ghana should be subjected to what? Torture or any inhumane or degrading treatment or punishment. It is clear in our Constitution. So if we have citizens who have flouted the law in Ghana, then they should be dealt with according to the law of Ghana.
Well, Belinda, thank you so much for stating the position of Amnesty International on this issue. Belinda is a spokesperson for Amnesty International Ghana, and you had reiterating her outfit position, their call for prosecution of persons behind the flogging of the two lovers in war, which has dominated conversation in the last few days. You were on the floor, but you heard the call. You seem not to agree with the...
Well, first and foremost, I agree with both Amnesty and then the Ghana Bar Association. The description they've given to the flogging is dehumanizing, is embarrassing. I thought that there could have been a way to handle it, but the hypocrisy in both Ghana Bar Association and even Amnesty International.
What's the hypocrisy?
In this country, you have instances where people are banished by chiefs, banished them, reported even by your station. What did they say about it? Was those banishment of people where their parents were, where they were given birth to, were they not also violation of their rights? In this country, you have Lamashagu, and this one, in fact, we had instances in my constituency, we had instances within the Tamil Metropolitan Assembly, where police gunned down a young man in a car. That boy was waiting for his BEC results. Ghana Bar Association didn't see the need to issue a statement. Amnesty International didn't see the need. You had people who went for some infraction electricity bills. They went the whole community, lined up people, beat them to pop.
Are you justifying?
No, I have already, that's why I stated that I agree with them. The description they have given to the punishment meted out to these people, it was just unacceptable. And like we all indicated, the one hour was not even in the palace. But I'm saying that they shouldn't cherry pick. The hypocrisy is just too much. Why would you have similar incidences? They are quiet. This one, they want to talk about it. They can talk about it, but what I urge them to do, you should talk about other incidences. And I am particularly concerned about this because it happened in my constituency. Gunned down that gentleman, 14-year-old boy who was awaiting his results. They didn't see the need to talk about it. How can you use one broom to sweep everybody? Someone engaged in an illegal connection, you go there, you don't even deal with the person. Any young person around the vicinity, they line them up. It was captured on video. Several stations played them. They didn't give a jot about it. So sometimes these are some of the issues we look at. Look, and the point I was making earlier, it is important for us to understand that we cannot take hook, line, and sinker the so-called Western laws. And that's why I've even indicated, even the laws as we have them today, is the conglomeration of both the common law and our customary laws. And the common law was a customary law of the British. So there are some aspects of our laws that we ceded, and there are some aspects we maintained. I really don't think that there will be a sanctioning of such treatment to people by any traditional authority. I'm also mindful because I'm a royal. But that is not to say that when the royal or chiefdom engage in something that I feel that it is not fair, I shouldn't comment about it. But I just urge them that it is not only this. The other incidences, I would want to hear their voices when they are condemning.
In this instance, how do you think the whole matter should be resolved? Citing the fact that we need to condemn what happened in the first place, and also to not to just select issues and leave others that are also of similar relevance. In this particular instance, the WANA has now admitted responsibility, even though initially the messaging was different. How do you think it should be resolved?
The WANA has a responsibility to ensure that there is some social harmony within his kingdom. The people he controls, he would want that there is some, and mind you, you cannot have law and order prevalent without the direct complementary work of traditional authorities. Let's get this very clearly. The traditional authorities play a significant role. Go to any community, and why, please, I know that well. The people who live with the people, the community, every single minute, are not the police. They are the people. So they understand what sings with the people. Now, assuming, or let's even conclude that what they did there at the WANA's palace was not the best, they could have found a way to handle it. I think that there should be a way. But listen to such statements, you know, such condemnations. For me, it will demoralize them. And once they are demoralized, law and order is something we may struggle to get hold of. So I would want them, and that's where, once again, I will agree with Nana.
I told you it's more than one.
Once again,
I told you it's more than one.
Because you have spoken without the pretense, usually. So that's why I will agree with Nana on this.
Point is that
we need to handle it. We need to handle it with profound care. I don't think that it's out of nothing that the one now claims ownership to it. It's because he wasn't even there. But anything that happened there, whether he sanctioned it or not, happened under his authority. Now, if one claims ownership, are they going to arrest him?
They're not supposed to.
Exactly. So they can't. So that is why we need to handle this with care. And that is why I am pointing out the hypocrisy, particularly the Ghana Bar Association and the
Let me bring in Nana in this one. Nana, the flogging went on for several minutes. I mean, if you look at the video and you check the duration, you ask yourself, this happened within the township, and you wonder where the police were. Intelligence gathering, an incident of this nature happening, and the police is not even aware. It's people will be flogged in this manner before later they come to arrest.
It's a very good question, if I'm allowed to extend it, I'd say that's the kind of thinking that we need for all our institutions. We're always looking for the topmost big person. We never go to those who are supposed to be doing their work. And so, yes, I agree with you on that score, that by all means, the crowd gathered before the action took place. They moved the people from one place to get to the spot where they did. They took time to tie them up before people started the flogging. So where were the police in all this? The reality that the police might also raise is that the crowd versus the decision maybe from the WANA, the office of the WANA is what I should say, and everything else combined. If they knew, probably didn't have enough resources to counter. All kinds of things can be said. So yes, I think that question should be raised, and we should extend that standard across board to all institutions of state like that, and demand of them that, you know, ratings done. I'm a bit bothered by what my brother said about the institutions. The reason is they can't be everywhere all the time, like everything and everybody else. You can't. So while you might have a concern about what they do or how they do their things, there's a fact that they can't be everywhere, and they must be focused in their choices. So as an organization, they'll be focused. They will be focused, and that one you cannot take from them. The question also becomes, did you seek their support? Because you are allowed to, in order to make the point, because you know they have tentacles that spread far and wide enough to influence situations. So sometimes you can appeal to their conscience and their responsibilities to come and assist you in your circumstance. So I think we should keep that in mind as well. But I won't hold them responsible for things, everything else. I can raise a question, but I won't go to the point of calling them names.
Nana, these people didn't seek their support. In fact, in the cases...
Yeah, I said they're allowed to pick and choose what they want to do.
No, they should not be allowed to.
Why not? You didn't create them.
No, they should not be allowed to pick. The reason why you think that whatever they say, we should give seriousness and attention to it, is the more reason why they should not be allowed to choose and pick. The reason is simple. In the matter of the violation of the rights of citizens at the time, we didn't even only speak to it. Almost every media house carried the story. The videos were shown on the floor of Parliament. We issued statement, a bipartisan statement on it. They never said anything. They never said anything. Between that and this one, which one is serious? We are talking about two individuals who were flogged on the basis of...
But you can't make a comparison.
No, I'm not justifying that. That's why I said I agree with them, the language.
But you can't make a comparison.
In the matter of that, people's rights, and we're talking about a young man who was awaiting his results, was murdered in the manner that he was murdered. The extent to which every single media house in this country carried the story. Amnesty International, were they in the Ghana Bar Association, were they in Mexico? Okay. They never give a job. So I'm saying that hypocrisy must stop.
Well, one of the subjects or topics that have dominated discussions in the course of the week has been the special prosecutor. In fact, we've seen the special prosecutor stepping up, fight against fight against corruption, and the anti-corruption front has lauded the energy they are seeing in him, despite the fact that we are learning his office is operating without a governing board and is cash-strapped. That's quite a difficult one for him, for his office. The fact that this similar concern was raised by the former special prosecutor. In fact, we saw explanations on the side of government as to what have been provided to him to enable him to work. And the new special prosecutor, we're also learning of similar challenges and how this may undermine corruption fights in the country. Honorable Mutala, let me start with you on this one to avoid Nana saying, asking why I keep on starting with him.
Why aren't you starting with me on this one? Why? But you see, here's the point I tried to make in the beginning. In this instance, when there hasn't been a counter from anybody per se on that matter, and basically what the special prosecutor is saying hits government, and it's my party that's in government. If you start with me, it's appreciated.
Okay, start.
As opposed to the first instance when, if the NDC hadn't raised the matter of the cathedral, it really wasn't an issue. So they were supposed to start first, and that's my logic.
Okay, so you can start.
Please, you are not the host.
I want to start with you on this one quite briefly.
Honestly, I don't
before we look at
He says I'm not the host.
Yet
when the host asked you to start, you had problems with it.
But I refuse.
I'm saying that clearly we maintained that the office of the special prosecutor was just what was created, it can be described as get off my back, attempt to deceive the people of this country. That's what they intended to do. Several people, not just the NDC, raised several questions about even the creation of the office. Well, create an office and they don't have the absolute capacity to prosecute. Prosecution is still the preserve of the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General, even if the special prosecutor thinks that there is a need for such prosecutions to be done. And what use is it to have an office created, yet the ingredients, the fuel to grind the wheels of the office is deliberately not given? Martina made the same point. It's not, there's one thing approving a budget line for a ministry or an agency, and there's another thing releasing monies for the purpose for which that office was created. What this government engages in, they create an agency, they bring in budget and indicate how much they are given to the agency. The budget is approved, the releases are not given. And this is not the first time the special prosecutor is expressing these worries and frustrations about this deliberate attempt by this government to give them the tools to operate. Mind you, officers who are very, very key in ensuring that the purpose for which the office was created are recruited have not even been recruited, because it's the chief of staff who must give the green line. So clearly, the NDC is vindicated that this government is not and has never been intended to prosecute people who engage in such corrupt acts. They have never, because if they ever wanted to do that, I believe that they would have released this. Every budget that is presented, there will be a budget line. Mind you, when we raised this issue before the 2022 budget was presented, the Minister of Finance response was that, oh, this is the budget line they have for the special prosecutor. Everybody was happy and everybody is gone to sleep. But you have the budget line, yet you are not using the money. So I'm saying that, for me,
But in the case of Martin Amidu, the former special prosecutor, we were told that funds, not entirely what was allocated, were released to him, but was not utilized.
No, they were not. In fact,
and I've not heard Martin Amidu debunking this.
No, he did. Martin Amidu said that the budget line, this was what was put in the budget.
But at least...
no, he said, he even said, ask the minister for the chief of staff how much was released to my office. Even officers who were supposed to be engaged for the purposes of ensuring that he did his work well, he couldn't recruit them because you must have clearance to recruit. The clearance was not
your description of creating the office and not giving it what needed, I mean necessary to help it work, quite problematic, because if you are going to measure the importance, the benefits, the essence of creating this office, we are seeing the special prosecutor in the last few weeks stepping up his fight against corruption. In fact, we are just learning that even one of your members, Mr. Dela Edem Kofi, has also, there's been a warrant for his arrest. Just some few minutes it just came. The special prosecutor has moved to freeze the asset of Sir John. We are seeing also some few cases that he's tracing, and I was thinking that's laudable, at least for the stats.
Is it just Sir John? If Sir John issue never came up, wouldn't have known.
He has pressed charges against former PPA boss.
Oh, you interviewed Sir John. I would urge you to play. I would urge you to play the.
You see the non-fire keeps talking about.
Well, you are uncomfortable with.
No, he asked you a specific question.
Oh, please. Since when have you become the moderator?
Oh, recently.
Oh, I can understand. So I'm saying that we would love to see that. So the question is, there have been several allegations that we expected the special prosecutor to have gone into them. He didn't. Is it a case because Sir John is no longer alive? And I'm making reference
to the PPA boss is alive.
I'm making reference because you brought it up. Now, isn't the special prosecutor interested in getting into what the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources did when they spent 5 million Ghana cedis, 5 million, holding anti-Galamsey dialogue for a day, in fact half a day, 5 million. And this is captured in the financial statement, 5 million. And in fact, the northern sector one, they spent less than 5 hours, 3.5 million. People have raised questions. Why is he not interested in those things? Why is he not interested? Why is he not interested in getting into the allegations made with regards to how the COVID funds were spent? Ketsi, the former second vice chair of the MPP in Northern Region, former, in fact, the MPP parliamentary candidate for Sani, who captured on video, on audio, how they distributed COVID money like biscuit. Why is he not interested? There have been several calls that by now the special prosecutor should be getting into it. Why is he not interested in getting into some of those things? But you see, that is not what we are discussing. What we are discussing is his own frustrations. What he himself is telling the people of this country. The unwillingness of this government to release monies for the purpose of he engages in the work that he's supposed to do. That is what we are looking at. But there are several questions we would ask. And all these issues, people have made commentary, even in Parliament, to the extent that demanded that the special prosecutor to get into those things. He is not. What they engage in is what I can best describe as cartoon scenario reality. Let's pretend that we are doing something when we are absolutely doing nothing.
Is that true, Nana? That the office was created, deliberately not being funded and resourced well to execute its mandates?
Well, I've just opened the page, City Newsroom, a piece written 2 years ago by Marianne Ansa, and you might want to check it out. It says, Amidu used less than half of over 300 million allocated to his office since 2018.
And Amidu said they never even...
Finance Ministry.
Oh yes, that's what they said.
So You can check, it's on the internet.
Yeah, they were not
so I'm not creating.
I've read that.
Yeah.
It has got nothing to do with what I
so I don't know why you feel so insecure every time I
you're
speak.
not listening.
I'm speaking to the moderator and therefore to the public.
No, I don't want
so
you
I
to
don't
deceive the
understand
public,
why you think that you must. I'm not even creating a
I don't
statement.
want you to
it is a
deceive
matter
the
of
public.
fact that's been published,
No,
and I'm reading it.
When you get your turn, if you want
and he spoke extensively, so I don't understand. You didn't do this. You were busy trying to find new words for people instead of dealing with truth.
You don't deceive the public.
So, if Mr. Amidu was given a certain amount of resource, then it means that maybe not allowed to spend in the manner that he wanted to, but he was given up to 300 million in his time there and didn't use it. When you don't use what is given to you, it is not the person who's financing you that is held responsible. It is you who drew a budget and it was met maybe halfway, quarter way, whatever, but you got money and didn't use it. So it's your problem.
How about this one?
In the case here, the special prosecutor said he doesn't have enough resources. He hasn't done anything different from Mr. Amidu in terms of stating publicly that his resources have come. The difference we need to find out is whether, in his case, he has used whatever has been given to him and what is outstanding is needed and hasn't been given. It would be good to probe that. I would suspect that that's what he seeks to do, to sort of encourage us to raise the questions to. The fact that the two of them have shown capacity to make such a statement publicly emphasizes the independence of their office, and that's important. Typically, when you are kissing up to somebody, you won't come out. You do it and you hope that somebody can say it somewhere. But they say it publicly. Both of them said it publicly. So it emphasizes the independence of their office. Having said that, I think that you are right. We tend not to encourage people in this country. And I'm making a very general statement, and it is true. So when, let's say, your camera person is doing well, how many people go up to him and say, you know, your job was really nice today? Because they simply think that he's doing his job. Yeah, but who doesn't need encouragement? So when the special prosecutor, for what it is worth, within whatever resources, is doing certain things, we need to commend him for it. This country, prior, is not known to do the kinds of things that we've asked the special prosecutor to do. And it is for that purpose that President Akufo-Addo and the NPP proposed it for the Ghanaian people, so that we begin to know how to positively, effectively, and openly fight corruption. Because otherwise, we don't tend to do that. We hear it and we go and talk about it at the beer bars. If you got a chance to speak on air, the worst you could do is call people names. But really dealing with it, holding the person responsible, taking them where they're supposed to go, really, truthfully, how did we deal with that in the past? And so when this office is now created and is beginning to do that, Mr. Amidu did some more. We shouldn't talk as if he didn't do. He did some. He may not have gone as fast as we would like him to. We might have wanted him to speak less and act more. But the fact is that he did not do anything. He did something. And it's the same with this man. He's doing something. And it is impressive. So let's recognize that and encourage him to do more. I have no problem with us asking that, why haven't you done this and that and the other? I think that's what we are there to do.
Based on what we're made to believe from the side of government in terms of creating this office, and the fact that the office still does not have a governing board, which is key in its operation, isn't that problematic? What sort of message does that send?
Yeah, I think it's something we should ask. I don't know the answer to that. I think it's something we should ask. I think we should hold those responsible to tell us exactly what's going on. It's a problem.
I find it quite surprising because you are a member of the governing party, And you speak for...
What did you say?
A government
party, not the government.
But you are a member of the government. You are abreast with government policies, right?
But maybe I haven't averted my mind to that issue until it comes out.
No, but he's a member of government. You have an appointment
the thing is this, and this is what Mutala is excited about, yet he fails at himself. He doesn't speak to things
I say you are a member
that hurt he and his party. He doesn't.
I say you are a member.
You don't hear him speak to it in public, and yet he wants somebody else to do the same.
That's not true. That is not true.
You, when they were that's 20,000 they used to buy the coconut. Did you say anything about it? You were a member of parliament. In fact, you were a trade minister.
Do you want me to give you an example?
What did you say?
Do you want me to give you an example?
The only time he speaks is when he was running for office and somebody tried to fight him. Then he used some of those words he likes to use to attack them. Apart from that, he never does anything.
That's not true.
And in my case, me, I'm sitting here. This is my party in government, and I'm saying that I encourage you to go and hold responsible for actions.
Which actions? Which one?
So he and I, if we were passing judgment, and I'm not one to pass judgment, I say, who would we call it?
First and foremost, you are a member
who we call like
that. First and foremost, don't mislead.
All he's interested in is calling people names.
I say first and foremost.
Always trying to point fingers. They never offer you a proper solution that will make us know that this is a long-lasting solution for the development of this country. First and foremost. I'm telling you, if you like probe into all the things that he has said, even this morning, how much of it was actually a solution to the problem? The closest thing is when he began to agree with me.
First and foremost.
Apart from that, what was he able to do? And when he agreed with me, clearly it was not his ideas. He listened to me and regurgitated them.
Thank you.
So he was really copying and pasting to the public. So exactly what is that he's offering. I won't let him speak. Say you're almost closing. I'll talk out till you close.
No, you don't do that for the
respect the public.
Because when I stop talking, means you are wrapping up.
I say respect the audience.
You're not wrapping up. They told me you close at 12. So I'm intentionally talking out to 12.
Nana is a member of this government.
So here's the point. The point is that
let's respect our audience.
Exactly.
I've given you the time to talk.
Yeah. So let me finish.
So if you can quickly wrap up so that I bring him.
Oh, you're bringing him. I thought the idea was to close. It's 12.
Can I?
Okay, in that case, you can. What is the story? So the point for me is this: let's allow our institutions to work. Let's do the right thing for ourselves, by going to the issue and dealing with it. The special prosecutor concept is good. It's good for us, because without that office, not parliamentarians, whether they're NPP or NDC or CPP or whatever, not Joe Public like me, not you, the media, are doing what is strong and right by Ghana in taking up the space that the special prosecutor takes. You and I, you as the media and I as the public, might stand on rooftops and shout about corruption. But how many of us take somebody to court on an act of corruption? We do. So if the special prosecutor is there to do that, then we must encourage that. And whatever steps he takes.
Okay, I'll come back to you.
First and foremost.
You will? Great.
Yes, first and foremost. Nana, once again, when I said...
Listen closely to what he says.
When I said I will not allow you to deceive the public. You are a member of this government.
I'm not a member of the government. How?
You have a political appointment.
Is that government?
Yes.
It's government.
Yes.
Did that come to you for approval?
Oh yes, it's government.
It's not government. Not in the manner that determines the special prosecutor's business.
I leave that. You just said the special prosecutor is an independent body. Now, when I'm making reference, hold on. When I'm making reference to appointment, you just told the public that no, you're a member of the party, but you are not a member of government.
Yes.
You are a member of this government.
No, I'm not.
You are also a communicator for this government.
No, I'm not.
No. You're not?
No.
But who are you?
I'm a political analyst for the party.
You are here representing a political party in government.
Yes, that's true.
So you are communicating for the government.
No.
Okay, thank you. The viewing public good.
I haven't been authorized by the government to communicate for it. I've been authorized by the party to communicate for the party. To communicate what the party stands for.
Which is the policies of government.
It links into government policy. But there's a difference between government and party.
Thank you. You see,
Otherwise, you don't deserve to be in Parliament because Parliament is government. So in that case, then what?
Every member of Parliament, you go to Parliament for and on behalf of your party.
But you are in government.
When you leave the party, you leave Parliament. That's one thing you need to know.
What?
As when you leave a party, assuming you decide, a member of Parliament, you decide to cross carpet.
My friend, this one is academic talk.
And
it's true.
Well, and I'm
it's
saying
true.
that. And I'm saying
it's not unknown. Do you know that why you're saying it?
I mean, the interjection is becoming.
Do you know that why
for the sake of our audience, let's.
Why you're saying
your audience
did that? Why you're saying he moved from MPP to MPC?
You are not allowing him. I give you the time to speak.
No, he tried to challenge my knowledge of these things.
I had to tell him when I said that everything he said was nothing but pact of pretense. The very things he accused me of doing, he's doing it in a grand style. The unnecessary and needless interjections. The point I'm making is
stop crying.
He said you even allow.
You're distracting the conversation.
But if you remember, I said emphatically that that's my intention.
Okay, so thank you. So you are pretending.
I didn't hide it.
So you see, I said pretense. I have been vindicated. The special prosecutor, and on Matanamidu's case, I think that Nana needs to get something very clear. The 300+ million which was released, it was released by the Minister of Finance to the office of the President, but it was never released to Mr. Matanamidu. That's the difference.
It's not true.
That's it. Mr. Matanamidu's position was that yes, you must have released it to the Chief of Staff was supposed to authorize the releases, which was not done. And Matanamidu provided evidences of several.
So how come did he use the money?
No, I'm saying use what money?
That's what the report said. I'm relying on this report. You are relying on your hearsay. I'm saying this report that I have given
when someone is struggling,
to the host.
That's why he's sweating, even in this air condition.
There's no air condition on here. No, but you need to refer him to this because he's not stating the truth. Can I make my point?
Thank you. Thank you.
The facts here do not support what you're saying.
The reason why some of us have problems with the special prosecutor, and in fact, there were a lot of lecturers at the Faculty of Law who raised issues about the creation of that office, special prosecutor. The reason was simple. How can we create an office that is supposed to be independent when, strictly speaking, they are not independent? They are not independent the extent to which they will not be, the prosecution will still be within the control of the Minister of Justice.
But it's a good step if you want to amend Article 88 to then give them the prosecutorial powers. That's a different case.
The argument that has been made several times by people is that let's decouple the Minister of Justice from the Attorney General. If the government wanted to do that, that would have been a welcoming move. But to create an office, mind you, this is not the first time something like that is created. President Kufuor created anti-corruption in the office, yet nothing is happening. Under this government, there are a series of allegations that are made against officials of this government. The special prosecutor doesn't give a jot of those things. So how independent is the special prosecutor?
Okay.
Isn't it deliberate that you create a body and then the budget, mind you, the special prosecutor presented a budget, government agrees with that budget, brings the budget to Parliament, it is approved. And then you are supposed to have releases. We are in June. We are left with 6 months. Yet you haven't released the monies for which reason the office was created to execute their mandate. Then it is much ado about nothing. Okay. You should have even created that. But you see, what I would say is that if Mr. Matanamidu was fired, and when he was fired, he made a statement that is still not contested, that he was fired because of the position he had on corruption, and described His Excellency the President as the mother serpent for corruption, and that he was fired because he stood against moves by this government to deepen corruption in this country. No wonder this gentleman is facing the same problem, unfortunately. Well,
today happens to be June 3, 2022, of course, and it marks the 7th anniversary of Ghana's worst disaster, the June 3rd twin disaster that led to many lives being lost in the country. In the middle of a heavy flooding and rainstorm midnight, Wednesday, June 3, 2015, an explosion at Kwame Nkrumah Circle branch of the Guel filling station in the capital Accra killed at least 150 people and plunged the whole nation into an official 3-day national mourning. It has been a major issue, and we've been looking at 7 years on. We're still facing the challenges that we encountered then, and what are we doing as a state as managers of the state to ensure that we avert some of these tragedies? Nana, you're asking a question, so let me start with you on this one.
I was asking where you were that day. When that explosion happened. Were you in Accra?
No, I was in Kumasi.
It was a terrible thing.
Yes, and Nana, 7 years on, it appears we haven't done much in terms of, let's say, for example,
about
addressing issues of flooding, addressing challenges with the drainage system in the capital, Accra. In fact, we heard the former Works and Housing Minister, Samuel Atta, pouring out his frustration as to the fact that funds have not been released to his ministry to improve the drainage system in Accra.
Okay. So first of all, the June, was it June 3rd issue, I don't think it's necessarily caused by the flood. There was an explosion at the fuel station. So whatever else that happened there, because why? Water could have gone into something and caused it without the flooding. So that had its issue. It doesn't take away from the point about the flood, but I think that we should be clear about the difference. On the matter of the flood, I take a certain position about it. No government should be held fully responsible for flood issues. Because recently somebody circulated a story from 1960 about floods in Accra. I don't know if you ever saw that article. 1960. 1960 was what? 60 years ago. Yeah? Yeah. 62 years ago. That should tell us something. And before that, floods happened. It's just that we have that story as evidence. But it was flooding every year before that. In fact, the old Fadama and all of that neighborhood along the Odo River is always been known to be a flood-prone area. So the question becomes, what happened to our engineering?
Because just to add to what you're saying, my boss, Akushika, shared...
you know that's my sister. my classmate.
Shared a design, an architectural design in the 1970s to address the Odo River issues. And I was wondering, from 1917, there was a design to address it. Until date, we are facing the same challenge.
Good. And so for me, that's the issue. When you look at it from that perspective, the question becomes, so who should you hold responsible? It's very easy for us to hold governments responsible, and I'd do the same. I've done it before. But when you reflect, the question is that the best place to go to? Because if these drawings have been there for a long time, and one government after the other doesn't find it priority, somebody else must be questioned. Because most of the time, when you listen to all governments, it is what civil servants bring to them that they deal with all the time. If that's the case, then in the case of town planning, roads and highways and all of those that tend to do things that affect communities, what do they do? So if you come to South Industrial Area, for example, my office is along that road. I'm thinking about rallying all of the industries there to sign a petition to demand of the engineering departments of this city an answer to the flooding problem. If you know, Toyota, Rahman Motors, and others now have to put up buildings to raise their cars and place them there to avoid flooding of the vehicles. They lose millions at a time every time this type of flooding. In one instance, cars were moved from the showrooms, out of the showrooms, onto the streets and away from the factory or the company. That's how bad it gets. So there's a certain appreciation of the circumstance and who should deal with it, and especially because now we're in a democratic dispensation. If we held an engineer responsible, it's easy for a member of parliament, for example, to hold them even publicly through their offices, demanding, maybe you and I, when we go, we can only point fingers. But those who can actually make it happen based on our finger pointing, in other words, we all have a role to play, will now begin to let people sit and think properly. And some things are not partisan. You understand? flood-prone areas being designed to accommodate human activity. There's nothing partisan about that. So we can get action taken. Because the truth is that it's crazy how much money is lost every year.
Okay.
It's crazy how much lives are lost that we seem not to even count. It's disgusting that we don't even count. Every year we talk about it, and then by July we'd have forgotten.
I'll come back to you, Nana. On 7 years on, one of the major issues, siting of fuel stations.
Yeah.
We are still seeing it. Spring up at locations where you should not site
something like that.
Something like that. And you find regulators issuing permits.
I think on that day, Nana asked where you were. I was in Accra, and I think what occasioned the several loss of lives of citizens was that when it was raining heavily, people sought shelter at the fuel station, and then when the explosion came, and water was one, you can understand. We lost a lot of people. Our condolences to the bereaved family. You know, behind those losses, we have orphans, we have widows, we have people whose education have been truncated because, for all you know, the only breadwinner within the family had gone as a result of that. And I will speak to this one. I'm a development planner, perhaps you do not know as a profession. When we were doing human settlements at university, we had one professor, and there is something that most of them were using, particularly he said the difference between Africa and the Western world in terms of our planning is that Africa, we plan after we execute it, but in the most advanced world, we execute after before we plan. But in most countries, they plan before they execute. And that has been the problem. Go to the ministries and agencies. In fact, don't even go there. Go to the local governance level, the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies. They have plan officers. Check the plan officers and find out whether they have the skill, the requisite skill to be able to plan the establishment of those cities. Go there and you'll be marveled. Again, a lot of the plan officers are not even professional planners. You find people who did geography or political science because they are people that they can use to some extent, because the planners are not properly paid. So you can't find a proper planner who would want to. If you do plan your first degree, you are not a planner, you're a plan student. But those of us who did it at second degree, we are planners. Now, you did your second degree and then they employ you at a district assembly and you are paid maybe, that is about 1,200 Ghana cedis. You see that it may not worth it. So you find a lot of planners who are unwilling to go to the local level.
Is that why you're doing politics?
I'm saying that you find, I'm a teacher by profession.
You say you're a development planner?
Yes.
We have 30 seconds.
I hold a second degree.
30 seconds. Okay, so really?
I hold a second degree in the one plan. I hold a second degree in international relations too, and I'm a teacher by profession. So what I'm just, in fact, and I hold LLB, if you care to know. So the point is that people are...
For which laws? For which laws do you hold?
Now, in my final year doing my PhD at political science. So
you say you've got an LLB?
Yes.
And I mean, for which law? Because you don't seem to like the laws that exist in our country.
No,
you're exhausting the 30 seconds.
I only challenge the abuse of those laws by those who parade themselves as doyens of the legal system.
So why don't you hold them?
I'm challenging you. So the point I'm just making is that, so when you go to such traditional authorities like himself, they are also partly blamed. You go to a new settlement and lands demarcations are done, they get surveyors who come and do that. Drainage is not factored into the plan of those settlements because every little space is viewed by the traditional authorities as money. Social and recreational centers are not even provided because every space that ought to be used for the purposes of ensuring that you wouldn't have some of these things are all spaces that are considered as well as money. So we all have a responsibility. Technical people have a responsibility. The reason why people hold politicians responsible, we must galvanize the people to move towards achieving that agenda. So if you have the political authority to do that, and you do not do that, you will be blamed. So it is not for nothing that politicians are blamed. Last point, every year, before the rain starts, the urban roads and feeder roads award contract. That is the desilting. Since this government came into office, they haven't done that. And mind you, So you have some of these gutters or these drainage systems that are choked. Those contracts were small contracts they awarded, and the MPP 1 did it, NDC 1 and 2 did it. Award those contracts, let them desilt those gutters, because what must pass.
Should we look for a long-term solution or to continue investing in desilting? That has not solved the problem.
No, the long-term solution is what we must all look for. But however,
give it.
In as much as we are working for the long-term solution, the immediate solutions ought to also be looked at. If you have gutters that run through your building, they are all choked by sand. And then you say, because we want to have a long-term solution, we are not going to spend money for these gutters to be deserted so that the water can move freely, then you would have some of the problems we have. And that is the point.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let me read a few of your messages as we wrap up. And this one comes from, he said, good morning. In the first place, what is the essence of they doing that in the first place? It is how the Islamic, Christian, and traditional religions teach us. Tradition was dead before this modern or whatsoever laws came. They should spare us with this hypocritical thought, and that's according to someone who has not added his name. This one says, if some say the National Cathedral build-up is not good thing for any government, the question is the Turkish government also not a government? So why should the Turkish government be allowed to build a huge mosque in Ghana? Why did we allow the government to finance the building of a mosque?
Let me correct this.
Yes.
That mosque was never built by the Turkish government. The government had no dime in that particular mosque. That land was not even a free land given to Muslims. It was in compensation over a mosque that was destroyed for the purposes of building the Rollins Park. That Rollins Park, there was a mosque there owned by a private Muslim. Government took that land, demolished that mosque, which created a lot of problems. So as part of compensation, in fact, the very time that land was given to Muslims, Pastor Mensa Otabil, land was also given to him by the state. This mosque was built by a private person in Turkey. And because the Turkish, it was built by a Turkish citizen, there was the need for the Turkish embassy to have that, because he was pumping his money into it. So that point must be made very, very clearly.
Okay.
Government had no dime in the building
this
of
one's, it says,
the Turkish
Nana Ofori is talking in defense of the corrupt MPP instead of facing realities in the face of Ghanaians. Does it make sense to him when school caterers are complaining they don't have money to cook for schools anymore, and you're talking about National Cathedral? That's according to from Michelle Camp, and that's all we can read. A lot of messages. Thank you so much. Nana Fredua Agyeman is the board chairman of the National Theatre. In fact, he's part of the government. He has denied he's part of the government.
That's unfair. I've taken a clear position. You, the host, shouldn't say.
No, but Nana, you are.
But Nana, you are part of the government.
No, I'm not. When government is discussed, you tell you that National Theatre is government.
Oh, of course.
You see, it's a state institution.
Whoever is managing state,
it's a state institution. It is not government.
Nana,
you must understand that.
But
and I think it's better. As for him, he can go on. But you, I don't think it's proper.
Okay.
I think you should be right.
I'm going to stress your position. And Honorable Mutala Mohammed Ibrahim is the Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. This has been Weekly Press Review, your number one wrap-up analysis program. We're back same time next week with more analysis of stories that will feature in the front pages. Until then, enjoy the rest of our programs. Have a nice day.
There are strong women whose stories teach us perseverance, logic, decisiveness, and self-confidence. Being strong is not just about physical abilities, but also emotional, intellectual, and mental strength. Women's Voice is a platform to hear and share stories to encourage women and girls. Women are the real architects of society. It is they who provide the foundation of power, grace, wisdom, justice, creativity, and hope. Join us live every Monday at 4 p.m. on GBC News and GTV, Wednesdays live at 4 p.m. on GBC News and a repeat on Saturdays at 4 p.m. on GBC News and Sundays at 3 p.m. also on GBC News. Women's Voice. No one can make you inferior without your consent.
Every Wednesday at 9:05 a.m. live on GBC News, Unique 95.7 and all GBC regional stations, and on Facebook at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, and a repeat on the same day at 11 p.m. on GTV. Focus, putting the issues in perspective.
Promise discovered she was 4 months pregnant and had not been on folic acids. When the pregnancy was 9 months old, a medical scan revealed that the fetus was malformed. Doctors told her she needed to abort the baby, but she refused. The baby's head keeps growing bigger by the day. 6,000 cedis is urgently needed for the baby to undergo an initial surgery. Otherwise, she might not be able to walk.
I'm appealing to anyone that it touches his heart to please help me so that this child can have life, so that she can make use of her 2 legs, so that nothing will happen to her toileting part and her urinary part, so that she will be able to live again. Please, I'm appealing to anyone that can help you, please help me.
Donations can be sent to an Ewutu Amasaro Bank account. Account name, Promise Awinofu. Account number, 219-142-000-082-3881. Donations can also be sent via MTN Momo number 059-602-4564. No amount is too small.
Nancy Gameli is a class 6 Roman Catholic basic school located in the Bikuma Central Municipal Assembly. The 13-year-old, according to doctors' reports, bruised her leg during the COVID-19 lockdown, but all efforts to fully cure her proved futile. Her untreated condition has resulted into osteoblastoma. Osteoblastoma is a benign bone-forming tumor that is extremely rare, accounting for only 1% of all primary bone tumors. Treatment of osteoblastoma usually involves surgery to remove the tumor. Nancy and her grandmother, Madame Ferizamo, are appealing to the general public, philanthropists, and benevolent organizations to support them with 50,000 Ghana cedis to cover the cost of surgery at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
Medina Nantisa, for the better be any credit, for Fona Doye, and the idea Gaka. They see I send a corn, none of Yana Ekasia. Near the Bakolobu, in this campon Todian, and no Pama for a boy. They see almost in Kian coffee. Never the adrum. Ya be a down here, almost see, ya any surgeon. say 500 million. Me who be a man coffee. Say some coffee, my day in some other. And the ice means me the better amount for news. No more boame or Kuleon. I said, Mini, Shaphobia, me as my 3 years, me could be as any better than the great day. My nippy. Miss Sarah, they say, Radi, and could be a kuma, no more than Fanya Cray. And now I don't see a beyond.
Nancy told GBC News that her ambition is to pursue law and become a judge in future, but she fears her dream may not come true due to her deteriorating condition, which has left her out of school for 2 years.
My friends are now in JHS too. I want to be a judge in future, but because of this and I can't. I'm pleading to the general public, the government, the philanthropists, all of it to help me.
Kindly support Nancy Gameli's surgery by donating to Theresa Amu on MTN mobile money number 059 131 6296 059 131 6296.
Ethiopia is one of Africa's most beautiful and fascinating countries, and a surprising travel destination. From spectacular mountain landscapes to vast lakes and mysterious deserts. From incredible historic landmarks to vibrant modernizing cities. It is the only country in Africa that was never colonized by Western powers and has a rich cultural heritage, which evolved during times of kingdoms and empires. While Christianity and Islam are the main religions, Ethiopia is also a patchwork of many different ethnicities, customs, and traditions, including tribes that have retained some of their lifestyle. In this video, I will show you 10 beautiful places I visited on a journey through Ethiopia in 2019. At the time of editing this video, Ethiopia is in political and military conflict with the northern Tigray region, which is causing great suffering to ordinary civilians. Like most people, I hope all parties involved can come to an agreement and start rebuilding this incredible land. As a result of the conflict, some of the places in this video are currently inaccessible due to high security concerns. Always follow travel advice and consult local guides to avoid putting yourself and others at risk. We begin this journey in the north of Ethiopia to visit the incredible monolithic churches of Lalibela. Little can prepare you for the sight of these structures that are carved entirely out of rock. Construction began some 800 years ago, during the reign of a king named Lalibela, who, according to legend, wanted to build a new Jerusalem and center for Christianity.
በጨለማ ውስጥ ለምን ትኖራላችሁ? ለዘላለም ወደ ገሃነመ እሳትስ ለምን ትገባላችሁ? ከዚህ ይናገሩ ዘንድ አባቶቻቸው አላሰለጠኗቸውምና።
Today, Lalibela remains an important place of worship for the Ethiopian Orthodox community. And you can see pilgrims praying and chanting in all corners of town, especially during Sunday Mass. Traveling to the Danakil Depression is like stepping into a different world. This is one of the hottest and most inhospitable places on Earth, and can only be reached with experienced tour companies on an overnight expedition. But for those who make it here, a surreal landscape awaits, with sulfur springs, bubbling volcanoes, acidic pools, and salt lakes. While traversing the vast desert, you may come across groups of nomadic Afar people, busy cutting chunks of salt out of the plains. They spend weeks following an ancient salt route, eventually selling or exchanging their salt on local markets. Set in a landscape of sandy desert and sharp peaks is the incredible Abuna Yamatagu rock-hewn church. Located in the troubled yet beautiful Tigray region, this church is one of the most unique places of worship in Ethiopia, if not in the world. Built halfway up a sheer rock pinnacle, Abuna Yamatagu can only be reached via a steep and sometimes terrifying 2-hour climb. The site is managed by 20 or so clergymen, and some of the priests make the journey up here every day. There are over 100 other rock-hewn churches in this region, and each have their own distinct character and style. striking Simien Mountains National Park is one of Africa's most beautiful ranges. It was formed 40 million years ago as a result of countless volcanic eruptions that created a plateau with jagged peaks and pinnacles. Today, it offers travelers plenty of opportunity for short hikes and longer treks, on which you are likely to meet Kalada baboons, nicknamed as bleeding heart monkeys. These sociable monkeys are unique to this area and can live up to 4,500 meters, making them the highest dwelling primates on our planet. Gondar is home to some of Ethiopia's most visually striking monuments, with royal palaces, churches and castles. The city flourished for over a century after Emperor Fasilidas made it its capital almost 400 years ago, due to its strategic location. Many of the original buildings remain intact or have been renovated, including the beautiful Fasil Gebi fortress and the unusual Fasilidas bath. Far north of Ethiopia lies Aksum, a small city with great historic significance. This was the center of one of humanity's great forgotten civilizations, the Aksumite Empire, which dominated trade in this region for many centuries. Aksum is filled with ancient sites, including the eye-catching stelae, or obelisks, that served as tombstones and memorials, and the remains of the Dungur, popularly known as Queen Sheba's Palace. Yet the grounds of the Church of St. Mary of Zion may be the most compelling reason for people to visit Aksum. According to Ethiopian legend, this is where the famous Ark of the Covenant is hidden, in a small but strictly guarded chapel. After traversing the north, we arrive in the center of Ethiopia to visit the bustling capital city, Addis Ababa. home to more than 5 million Ethiopians. Addis attracts people from all over the country to work, study and live. It's a vibrant metropolis and serves as a great introduction to Ethiopian culture and food. Addis is a sprawling city, and navigating the busy streets can sometimes feel challenging. However, there are plenty of areas to visit, including downtown Meskel Square, city's old town, some great museums, and my personal favorite, the crowded Mercato, said to be the largest market in Africa. South Ethiopia is a distinctly different land from the north, with Arba Minch as one of the main cities. But it's not the urban life that attracts travelers to Arba Minch. Rather, the spectacular Negisar National Park. Located in the Great Rift Valley, Negisar boasts two of Ethiopia's largest lakes. One of them, Chamo, is especially popular for its big populations of crocodiles. You can also spot other wildlife here, such as pelicans, hippos, and the charming olive baboons, who may casually wander around the garden of your hotel. Set in the cool mountains near Arba Minch live the friendly Dorsa people, known for their towering homes made from bamboo and ansete leaves. These leaves are also the main ingredient for kocho, a bread-like fermented food that is sometimes used instead of the famous injera. Cotton weaving and pottery are important sources of livelihood here, as is agriculture. The Dordtse grow their own coffee beans, and visitors are often treated to an Ethiopian coffee ceremony with freshly roasted beans, grounded on the spot. Finished this journey through Ethiopia in the Omo Valley.